Hi, hello, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk to some real people about some real things, living real lives, doing real stuff. This is the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied by Party Boy Pete McCormick, and our guest again today is Master Sergeant Nick Galante here for part 2 of the Nick Galante series. Party Boy Pete, you ready to do this thing?
I'm ready to rock and roll, Bartholomew.
Love it. All right. You can find us on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can hang out with us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. And if you want some fun, check us out on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast. All right, let's get this thing started. Let's go.
It's all objective to be effective by voicing societies. Working perspective, exploring your day and how you get paid. Launching a new episode every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform with new episodes available on every platform. So check out our vibe and how we get live. Then do us a solid. Share and subscribe. Would you share it? Would you share it? Would you share it? Working perspectives.
Okay, so like we were saying, Nick, you finished your second tour, you came home a couple months, party, did your thing, refueled your jets, and then you go back for your third tour. Now, when we were talking, right, this is what I found interesting, is that you had been over twice, you're 23 years old at this time, and, you know, the way it was going in the war itself, we kind of had a better grip on things. But when you were going into the third tour, you kind of thought like, okay, this is going to be a cake tour, and that's not how it turned out. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we had been at war since 2003, so it's like 4 years later, the whole thing started, and I figured like, okay, my second deployment or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that with time, you assume that it would get better, but then going into my third deployment, once we got on the ground, it was not what I expected. It was actually probably more they call it kinetic than what I expected it to be honest.
Wow. Okay. So you roll in, right? And when you're there, what's your rank now? Like when you're coming in on your third tour?
So I think right before I left, I got promoted to a sergeant. So I was a sergeant at the time.
Okay. So you're Sergeant Galante, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how many guys were you in charge of at this tour?
I think probably around 20 some Marines at the time. Yeah.
Wow. So you're 23 years old. You're a sergeant. This is your third tour, and you're in charge of like a squad, which is like 20 something guys.
Yeah, roughly. We had a little more guys than typical. Like I said before, we had bigger platoons at the time.
Oh, okay. So you're working heavy again. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you kind of like going into, what are kind of some of the problems that you would face from like in the third tour that you weren't expecting? Because I know like there are certain things that had gone on, like that were happening that kind of weren't there in the first two tours. So what kind of things, like, because I know snipers were a big thing. They had kind of ramped up the IEDs, right?
Yep,
so like
yep.
what kind of stuff were you facing that you were like, holy crap, they kind of upped this whole thing? So go ahead.
I mean, you still had the standard dickhead who would like shoot off rounds at AKs at you. You know what I mean? Mr. Guy who would do that. But then IEDs were still there, and they were getting like, I would say, more advanced. They were getting way better at hiding them. You know what I mean? They learned, they see how we like defeat them. Then they develop ways to like beat us. It's like a cat and mouse game. Like they see us, like we figure out a tactic to like solve their problem. Then they're like, cool, we need to change it up. So IEDs were still there. That was like a never-ending cat and mouse game. They're fucking like, they put them on
it's like steroids in sports. You get the new steroid and they figure out a way to test for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and they expanded from like they would put them not on the side of the roads, but they put them on like footbridges and in buildings. So like buildings and other places like that. So they got way better with that stuff. They started, from my experience, we started seeing more vehicle-borne IEDs, which is either is in the vehicle and then some assholes in there driving it and he clacks himself off and
Oh my God.
blows it up. So they were throwing that at us, and then yeah, there was a sniper problem there. Like some different places we were at, some asshole was fucking trying to pick people off. You know what I mean? Like pick guys off, and we had guys pass from that, and like guys get shot from that and like live and stuff like that. But there was always like, for a while there, it seemed like if you stop too long, all of a sudden you fucking hear a round crack by you. You're like, oh fuck, gotta fucking find a better spot or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So they kept you on your toes then the whole
Yep.
time, huh?
Yep, exactly.
So I want to talk about this, and if you're cool to talk about it, I want to talk about the incident. So how you got your first Purple Heart. So from what you explained to me, the way it kind of worked out is that, say you're in a major city, you're in Fallujah, right? And you're kind of like mapping out and going through the different neighborhoods and kind of like checking them out. But the way it would work is like you would go to a neighborhood, you'd find a spot, you'd kind of set up a camp there, you'd be in this neighborhood for like a couple weeks or whatever, and then you would pack up and you would leave, right? But while you're there for a couple weeks, you're patrolling, you're searching, you're looking for insurgents and things like that. So say if we're in Philadelphia, say you would go to Kensington for a couple weeks, you'd find like an empty spot, you'd set up, you do your thing, you do your patrols, and then next you would go to Fishtown, you'd find a spot, you would set up, you would do your patrols and move it, right? So when this happened, you're at your spot, right? You're patrolling this place. How long had you been there before the bombing?
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty sure you kind of explained it right. Like at the time, the U.S. forces had been hammering Fallujah, so we, the insurgents were pushed out of the city and they started occupying small towns. Kind of like you said, like,
oh wow,
pushed out of the city. We like the U.S. forces kind of own Fallujah. There's still shit happening there, but then like Philadelphia's the main hub, and then like they started occupying places like Lansdale, Ambler, Norristown. So yeah, so then we started moving our forces those places and occupying them. So I mean, a lot of it is a blur. I don't know how long we were out there. We we go out for like a week or 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
But we pushed out in this particular area. I mean, I guess you can say the name of the place called the Zidon. But we pushed out in this place called the Zidon, and we were working out there a lot. That was like a new hot spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been out there for maybe like a week or something like that. And yeah, we had a place set up, and we were running patrols out of that particular place. And the one thing I do remember is before the incident happened, another guy who I'd worked with, I'm still friends to this day, Cole, he saw some guy, and I swear to this day that was the guy. But there's a dude kind of like Iraqi, like checking out our position. He looked fucking shady as hell. You know what I mean? And I forgot to bring this up before, but like when I got time to think about it, this guy was like checking out our position, and we were like, hey man, get the fuck out of here. And he rolled, and then after that we went on a patrol. Like we patrolled the area for a couple hours, and then on our way back in, we're coming back in our compound. And then there's a vehicle that came fucking pretty much like as soon as we got back in our compound, a vehicle came flying down the road. It was actually a dump truck, and the dump bed was packed full of explosives. And he rolls down like pretty much like there's an exterior wall around the compound, smashes in the fucking wall and collects himself off. And it was a couple 100 pounds of explosives that went off. Yeah.
He was in a dump truck, right?
Yeah, it was a big like old beat up dump truck, and he fucking like I said clacked himself off, and huge explosion. And then
so
like I said,
so for those listening at home, when you say clack yourself off, that's just a slang of like he was kind of a kamikaze, sacrificed himself to die in the explosion. Okay.
Yeah, suicide bomber pretty much. Yep.
Suicide bomber. So this guy, he packs this dump truck full of explosive, right? He knows, like you said, someone had kind of clocked your spot, right? Mm-hmm. And this freaking guy takes this truck and he rams it into a wall, or he runs right into the compound, or how did it work?
Yeah, so like I said, there was Iraq. They usually have like a house, and around that they have like a cinder block wall or something. It's just like the way they build their places, and fucking smash in the wall and fucking set it off, and huge explosion. Yeah, and they did a analysis of the explosion afterwards. Like you had to ordnance disposal guys, like it's a job in the Marine Corps. They did a blast analysis, and they're like, the lucky thing is with this whole situation is the way they packed it. Most of the force was sent down into the ground, because it made like a fucking like maybe 5 to 10 foot hole in the fucking ground. So luckily, like the explosive, the way you pack explosive, it depends on like what direction it goes, but most of it went down. But it was.
That's why you need that's why they employ physicists and chemists to be like, all right, you need to be this height and at this length, and then that's the maximum damage.
Yep. But the explosion is so powerful, it actually flipped over one of our fucking Humvees. To give you guys a reference, like our Humvee was on it. Our Humvee was on its side. It knocked down fucking palm trees. You know, it was a fucking huge explosion.
And you were in the middle of it, right? And well, like you were there, like in the compound when the explosion went off. And my thought, and you guys are right away thinking in strategic terms, you're like tactical terms. You're thinking, okay, this guy blew a hole in the wall, and there's some motherfuckers coming in behind him, right? Like that's your first thought.
No, first of all, I was like, what the fuck was that? You know, like, ow, that fucking hurt. You know, like, ow, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. You're like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I couldn't see shit. You know, when it went off, it was like fucking smoke and dirt everywhere, and like it hits you so hard. I mean, my memory, I can't remember if I like, you know, maybe I've blacked out from, or just like it's kind of haze. You know, it hits you, and you're just like, fucking, like, what happened? You know, and then obviously, you know, I did feel some pain from like some of the shit I took in like my shoulder and like arms and head and stuff like that. And then, you know, I heard other people yelling, and you know, and then like you start thinking start yelling at guys, get back on the fucking roof, you know, like set up security, you know, like in case someone else is coming for us.
And then you go check on your guys that are down and stuff, right?
Yeah, like you go check on your, you know, I think I told you before, I had one individual yelling that his legs were messed up. Luckily, his legs weren't messed up. It was just like, you know, a thing of sea wire like flew off a vehicle and kind of wrapped around his legs. And obviously he was in a daze and just like didn't think he could move his legs. And he's like, my fucking legs. And it's like, chill out, dude. Your legs are fine. You know what I mean? Like, but a lot of other guys weren't fine. You know, a lot of guys were injured pretty severely. You know what I mean? But try to, you know, gain our composure and then figure out who's the worst wounded, and then, you know, obviously call for support and, you know, a medevac, and we like pulled out the guys who were the most wounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How long would you say that it took for the medevac to get there after the explosion went off? Like you make the call, and how long?
Yeah, luckily, the crazy thing was the explosion was so big that there was a Amtrak unit down the road. They were like maybe like 3-4 miles down the road. They heard the explosion.
The train? The U.S. train?
No, like tracks, like the military. Excuse me.
They're like, look,
like,
we're putting.
They can't even get to New York in time, but they're like over there, like they're getting people out of the shit.
Yeah. They're like, look, the first order of business, public transportation. All right.
No, I use that slang. They're AVs. They're track vehicles. So it's like it kind of looks like a tank, but they're meant to carry people.
Oh, okay.
So,
we've seen that.
Yeah. So the tail end drops down and guys get out. So like I call them fucking Amtraks. This is like a slang we used to use, but they're AVs, but they heard the explosion, so they actually like fucking like whatever the hell they were doing, they turn around and were like, fuck, I know there's guys over there. So they got there maybe like 10-15 minutes after that happened, helped set up a perimeter for us, which was awesome. And then we called for like the medevac and the aircraft. I mean, the aircraft there was there pretty quick. Usually response time is pretty quick, depending on like, you know, what else is going around. And we're not the only unit out there. There's other people constantly getting hurt or whatever. So, but I would say, I mean, it's hard to estimate, you know, time when your adrenaline's fucking pumping and guys are hurt. But I would say like, it didn't seem like it was like, we weren't sitting there like, where's the fucking, you know, bird? They came pretty quickly. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that's crazy to think. Like, where you're sitting at right now, could you imagine seeing an explosion 4 miles or hearing an explosion 4 miles away? Like that's how big this thing was, right? Like that's unbelievable. That's I mean, it's terrifying too as well, but it's also, that's unbelievable. So, you know, and like you're not only are you messed up, your brothers that you've been spending all this time with and training with and fighting with, they're messed up as well. So right away, you have to go into leadership mode because you're 23 years old. You're in charge of these, you know, the squad of men, and this thing happens. So right away, you're going to leadership mode of like, hey, man the roofs just in case we got someone coming in, get on the machine guns, and let's get these really bad guys out of here. Anyone that can pick up a gun, get your shit together, and let's go, right? And I remember, is this where you had talked about one of your buddies that had like got it in his face pretty bad, right?
Yeah, my buddy Cole. I mean, he was actually the guy who I told you like thought he saw some dude doing some weird shit. He was either a scout or the guy who did it. You know, we don't know for sure. Yeah. But Cole, his face got pretty tore up from some shrapnel. His face is like peeled off, and there's a couple other guys in bad shape too. You know, and there's guys who were injured to the point where they didn't come back. You know, I mean, they went home. You know, and they went home and stayed home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily, out of the whole thing, like, thank God no one fucking died. This is the crazy thing, you know, and everybody was like, it's amazing no one died.
Thank
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank God, man. But that's still, so I want to give a shout out to your friend so what you told me, right? So his face got pretty messed up, right? Like the shrapnel kind of ripped him pretty good. And Nick and him, they go to, like, obviously they have, and the other guys have to go to the hospital, right? Like the military hospital. They get their shit going and they get repaired. And his buddy, you know, Cole, could have gone back, right? Like that's a pretty messed up injury, but he just stitched himself up and went right back out in the field, right, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, he probably, from the way his face looked, he probably could have went home. I mean, they put him under and did surgery on him from what I remember. I mean, I don't have him here, but yeah. So he got surgery on his face. They sewed him back up. You know, you get medevac to a hospital. So it went to like actually good hospital in Iraq. You know, and U.S. surgeons. There's a lot of, you know, like regular doctors there.
Yeah.
Like for me, they pulled the shit out of my shoulder and stuff like that. And for other guys, they like they take care of you as much as they possibly
were like all over you the whole time.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. But
happy birthday to us. We got
Who hired the stripper with the shrapnel in his arm, huh? Yeah. Well, okay.
So we were having Italian sausage for dinner.
Yeah.
So sorry. So you're at the hospital. You're there. They're pulling your shit out of your shoulder, and your buddy Cole.
Well, this is.
Go ahead.
I just remember, like, back when Nick first told me this. This is what I remember is like he was like, "Yeah, it wasn't too bad. They fixed my shoulder, which was fucked up." I'm like, "That's a real half glass full kind of lookout."
Yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Pete. So okay, so Nick, go ahead, buddy. So what kind of thing? Okay, so like you're saying, they took your buddy Cole. His face was like gabosh, and they put him under. They had to perform major surgery on him, stitched him up, and you guys are back out in the field like a couple weeks later. Like, is that?
Yeah, I mean, my shoulder and the wounds I took, like, I mean, I guess to me it wasn't that bad. You know, I had chunks taken out of me and stuff like that, but like my shoulder hurt, but it still worked. And some of the other guys, same deal. Some other guys, like, you got treated there, and then you know, I think from what I remember, Cole stayed there for a couple extra days, and then I went back to like my main base and with a bunch of other guys. And like eventually Cole came back, and you know, he had his face all fucking bandaged and stitched up, but he was like, yeah, I didn't want to go home. He's like, I'll just fucking heal up here, and like when I can go out on patrol. And so like he healed up there for a couple more weeks, and motherfucker still came back. You know, like he still at one point I was like, you sure you're good? And he's like, yeah, fuck it, I want to get back out there, you know. So he went back out. You know, he got his shit together and went back out, face still stitched up and everything.
Dude, shout out to Cole, because that's a fucking man right there.
Oof, yeah, really. Jesus.
That's a fucking man. He survived a massive explosion, got his shit kind of ripped on his face, obviously banged a couple nurses. That's what took him so long to get out of there. And then after you guys got done, you know, going through the whole hospital with all the hot nurses, you're just right back in the field, man. That's a fucking warrior, man. That shit. You got to have it or you don't, brother. That's, dude.
Yeah.
Damn,
I mean, he wasn't the only one. There's other, like, pretty much almost every guy. And so like that deployment in particular, it was my third deployment. I would say that pretty much every Marine in my squad, I can't think of a name in that squad who didn't come out of that deployment with, like, you know, a Purple Heart. Like, I think everybody either got like, shot at one point. Yeah. Like, guys got shot. There's one Marine in my squad who fucking went through the ringer, man. He fucking got hit by fucking that IED. He stepped on a booby trap, like hand grenade. You know, he got shot in the helmet. Like, so like there's
I remember you telling me about a tall guy in your unit that got shot in the helmet and just went woo, like did like the Ric Flair thing and was like back at it.
Yeah,
I think you called him Tex or whatever. I don't like, this is years ago. You told me.
There's I don't know if there's a guy that particular guy got shot in the chest. And he got shot in the chest and like rolled away and laughed about it. But there's a Marine who was in my squad who was we were sitting on a rooftop doing security, and we hear a round crack off, and I see his head like whip back, and he falls. I'm like, oh fuck, he's dead. And so we grab like the machine gun, and you know, like we start shooting at where the gunfire came from. And then all of a sudden, like some of the guys go to see if he's okay and like pull off his helmet, and it's like, holy shit, that just like it went through the top of his helmet and just kind of like dazed him. Yeah, and he was like, "What the fuck just happened?" He thought somebody actually like. We used to play this game where we would like take our helmet and smack another dude on the top of the head of helmet.
He thought you were like just doing like a beer tap on his head.
Yeah, we used to call it turtle fucking, like 2 helmets like hitting like a shell. So he's like, "Who the fuck just turtle fuck me?" He's like, "Bro, you just get a shot in the fucking, the helmet."
Wait, so like there's like a little gap between the top of your head and the helmet, and the sniper shot it through there.
He was lucky motherfucker. Yeah, it went right through. The cool thing is they let him keep the helmet and stuff like that. But yeah, that boy saw a deployment. That was his first deployment, and that's how I want to put names out there. He's out of the Marine Corps now, but he took shrapnel from the suicide bomber. He stepped on a booby trap like fucking hand grenade, and then he got shot in the fucking helmet. So I was like, God damn, dude, you're bad fucking luck.
Yeah. He's a fucking packet of charms, that guy. Jeez.
Yeah, I like it, but we're never going to be bunk mates with
yeah, just make sure you get in the other Humvee. Yeah. Dude, that's unreal. That dude also like, okay, so this happened right next to you. He gets shot in the helmet, right? And right away you're thinking like, you're calling like, hey, get blah blah blah, get blah blah blah, and then you manned a machine gun and shot where the fire was, even though in your mind, hypothetically, the guy next to you, just his cap just got peeled, right? Like,
yeah, I thought he was. To be honest, yeah, we saw him like we were doing shifts on the roof, and like I just got off shift. I was like laying on the roof, like not nearby him. I just heard the round crack off, and I look over and I see him fucking drop. I'm like, oh, I thought he was done. I was like, he's done. Like somebody get on him, and then we grabbed, we had like 240 machine guns and like a couple of guns. We start fucking shooting, returning fire from where it came from, trying to get the dude. And like I said, then we look over and like, holy shit, he's alive. Like one of those things.
Oh my God. That's unbelievable. Unreal. Yeah. So, okay. So we talked about it, or, I mean, that we'll just say, and, you have a list of accomplishments, Nick, that are a mile long, and that should be, acknowledged and talked about. But out of respect to you, you said that's not what matters most to you. It's the time you spent there with the guys you're with and the things you accomplished and you coming back safe and things like that. And I respect that. You did receive a Purple Heart for this, and that's not, we'll just say there's more medals than that, but we won't go through all of them. But so after you're done this hellacious third tour, right? You saw hell, you were through it with the ringer with your guys, you're running a squad. Some guys would say, you know what, this was a good one. Let's put her in the books, but not you. After you got done your third tour, you come home and then you go to try out for what some people say is the baddest, most badass branch of the military is Marine Recon, right? So yeah. So you go after you're done your third tour, you're like, look, I'm pretty badass, but I could be more badass. So let's go join and try out for Marine Recon. So what was because it's MOS training again, but it's MOS Recon training, right?
Yep. Yeah. So
go ahead.
I would say originally my unit I was a 2nd Battalion 7 Marines. That was my unit for infantry. And they were slated to go like off cycle from, the Iraq, Afghan deployment. So initially they actually ended up going over to Afghanistan, but like I had worked with recon guys while I was in Iraq and saw them, and I thought they're fucking, badass, and I was like, damn, that's something I want to do, later in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So I knew that my unit was like going off cycle. They weren't going on another deployment, a combat deployment. So I was like, all right, this time to leave. I think actually, like looking back on, if they were going on another deployment, I probably would have stayed with my unit because I love the dudes I work with, but at the time I'm like, they're not going back to combat at this point, which is crazy because they wound up doing that anyway. But I went to it's called lateral move. I moved into the reconnaissance MOS, or at least I went and tried out, and then went to the schooling for it. The schooling's like a whole like tryout pretty much.
What do you do at a tryout? Is it kind of like an athletics tryout where they're physically testing you and they'll do like a mental test and like a tactical test, or what's going down?
I mean, now it's like a little more formalized. Like they actually have like a regimental thing, but like at the time, based off of my experience, like I was a sergeant, had a couple of combat deployments. They made sure like I could swim and like swim really well and run really well, and then they gave me a seat to the school.
They were just like, well, this is not in your file, so we'll just make sure you can do these things so that we can put you wherever.
Yeah,
they're like, look, we were reviewing your stuff. you kind of got everything covered. We just want to make sure you can flap around in the water a little bit and that you don't die after a mile, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the swimming's pretty serious. Like it's actually pretty decent. Like you have to be a decent swimmer to make through. But
oh really?
Yeah, so yeah, you have to be a pretty decent swimmer. But
what
yeah,
kind
so
of what kind
Yeah,
of
Nick. So, just like so, some of the things that like as civilians we've heard is like, oh, SEALs they drop them all 50 miles off the coast of Florida and they have to make it back. Is there like truth to any of these stories or like anything that you've heard or what's?
I don't know. SEAL stories is something different, but
It's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
don't get it
different types
twisted about the SEALs. All right, we're talking to a fucking Marine Recon, Pete.
Yeah.
Okay, the SEAls can go fucking stunad for all we care here. All right, so go ahead. So sorry, Nick. So you're.
I mean, the swimming's like if you're not a good swimmer, you're gonna, that you spend like hours in the fucking pool, like treading water and like diving deep, like retrieving rifles.
Yeah.
You do like rescues, like learn how to like you're swimming, like pulling another guy, stuff like that. And then like.
Oh wow.
Throughout, you have to not only be able to swim yourself, you be able to like rescue other guys in your team if somebody's fucked up or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the school, I think I can't remember how long the school is. I know it fluctuates, but the school's probably around another like 13 weeks, and you do a whole like it's pretty much like the first 21 days is made, or at least when I went through the first 21 days is like all physical. You're fucking like running. You're running with like a pack on your back. You're fucking swimming like pretty much you run every morning. You're swimming every day and fucking like running at night, and it's like really really physical. And then we went to like a patrol phase where you learn how to like patrol and some of the tactics of like being a recon marine.
Yeah.
And then you go, it's called amphib phase, and you go down to another location and you're doing like, so it's probably kind of builds you up. You learn how to swim in the pool, then they put you in the fucking ocean, and what I mean, the ocean is like the equalizer. Like the ocean is a whole different story from
sharks
whole different story from pool. Yeah, exactly. So
like then there's like you're swimming against the tide sometimes, and yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's so we do like the whole ocean phase and stuff like that. So
would you say like because you had done so much already, like the tours and like the boot camps and your MOS infantry training and things like that, would you say that the swimming was the hardest part of the Marine Recon tryout and training?
I mean, for most guys, it was. For me, like I was lucky. I don't know. I'm like a natural swimmer, even though I was never on like a swim team. But I think I was like,
We've established you're the best looking guy, and not only are you the best looking guy, you're an Adonis and a star athlete. So of course, swimming was just fine, right, Nick?
Look, people had to swim between the main boot and Sicily, and that was Nick. His ancestors would just
Yeah, his grandfather was like, "Look, how do you think we got on the beach in the first place? We fucking swam there, okay?"
Swam the channel.
Yeah. There is one thing though. When I was going through BRC, it was like I think it was towards the last week of the course. So there's I guess an ailment you can get. It's called swimming induced pulmonary edema. So pretty much what is from. Have you heard of SIPes before?
This is from like scuba diving, right? Scuba divers.
No, it's not from scuba. Well, scuba divers can you. I guess they could do it. So pretty much like it's from like being extremely physically exerted, and then if you inhale any type of water, which we did pretty often and stuff like that. So if you inhale any water, which I think I did at some point, and then you're physically exerting yourself, the capillaries in your lungs start to pop, and your lungs start bleeding pretty much from the inside out. So towards the last, like, I think it was the last week of the course, I was fucking doing a swim and my chest feels really fucking tight. And I'm like, what's going on? And I started like spitting out blood, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. So I was like, all right, I have like another 500 meters to go. I'm just going to suck it up and like push it out. And I'm finning. And then all of a sudden I was like blackout in the water. And luckily there's an instructor nearby. He like fished me out. He saw me, like, he was just like, I saw you finning, and he just started going underwater and started disappearing. So he like fished me out. They pulled me out of the water.
So just let's talk about this. So you're in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
You've been doing the training. You've been doing the flippity flappity with the swimming, right?
Yeah.
You're swimming, and you're like, ooh, little tight. Then all of a sudden, you spit up blood. Spitting up blood in an ocean. Sharks love blood. You're in the ocean. No big deal. Not only you're spitting up blood and your lungs are tight, you're like, well, you only have 500 more yards to go. I'll spit up the blood and make it in anyway. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I had time to meet. I was like, I gotta make this fucking time, you know. And like, I was like, I'll worry about when I get to the fucking, worry about when I get to the dock, you know.
Yeah. I'll worry about this whole spitting up blood thing after I get there. You know, Jesus Christ, dude, that's a fucking. You're a different level, brother. You're a different. That's why, hey, man. That's why you're fucking Marine Recon, bro. That's like so that's why they wanted you, and that's why you're like they're comfortable with you leading men in combat because of things like that. You don't like. The mission is the objective. You don't care if you're spitting up blood. You're fucking completing the mission. Goddamn right.
So what happened to me, the moral of the story is, yes, I was being extremely, like, I guess, hard-headed, but because I continued on, I actually put myself in the ICU for about a week. So I was in the ICU for damaged lungs for about a week. And so that I pretty much blacked out. What I remember is eventually I remember waking up on the dock. And in the time that I passed out, I must have ingested more water. So I'm like literally on the dock, throwing up like water and blood out of my lungs. And they call ambulance, taking me to the hospital. I was in the ICU for maybe like a week, and then recovered from that.
More nurses in the ICU.
Yeah, exactly. More nurses.
Oh, somebody brought in the beef stroganoff.
Yeah. So they're like, who did us a favor? ICU too.
Thursdays are back.
Yeah. So so you're in the ICU. You're spitting up blood, and like but was this during training or the tryout?
No, it was during the school. So it was on the reconnaissance school. So what happened was usually they so I didn't quit, you know what I mean? So they were like, gave me time. So I took about like, I did like a week in the hospital. Then I did like another 2 weeks to kind of like let my lungs heal by like the order of the doctor. Yeah. And I was just like, I want to fucking finish this goddamn thing. So like I went and jumped back into training and like finished that portion. I had to like that phase was 2 weeks. So I picked up from that beginning of that phase and like finished out that phase. And the funny thing was, I think I may have jumped into a little earlier, but there was a point where I'm like swimming in the water and like start coughing up a little blood. I'm like, come on, let's fucking just make it. And I eventually made it. My lungs weren't fully healed, but I made it through that and then graduated, the recon school or base reconnaissance course.
Right.
Yeah. Because at that point I was just like, I just want to be done with this.
You're like, look, I'm fucking over this whole swimming and flapping thing. I don't care how much blood I spit up. I'm making it. We're doing this.
Dude. You're like, pass me. Just don't make me do this shit.
Dude, that's fucking badass. So like, not like I wonder what the normal rate of like recovery, like the normal recovery time is for the lung spitting out blood gimmick. I'm sure it's longer than 2 weeks. But
I was like about 3 weeks. I was in the hospital, then like another 3 weeks, like not in the hospital.
Yeah. I'm still sure it's longer than 3 weeks.
It might be,
and then you're right back at it. You do the same test again, and like you do the same course again, and same kind of thing. And you're just like, fuck it, I'm not letting the blood stop me this time. And you kind of like willed your body to be like, hey, fuccking get your shit together, let's go.
This time the blood was spinning up Nick Galante.
Yeah.
I think what happened was the event. I think I had like, they would give us sometimes like a Saturday off, and I think what happened was like I started like spitting up a blood on Friday, and I was like, I know I have tomorrow off. Like, I'll just rest tomorrow or something like that.
Jesus Christ!
I was like, I'll make it through this shit again. So, but I went up being okay, and made it through that last portion of the course.
You're here now.
And graduated. Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah,
dude, that's so badass, man. That is so like, dude. That's like one of the things I preach when I talk to the kids about like boxing and fighting and things like that. Number one thing is mental toughness, right? Like, like people don't realize your body feels pain, right? But you don't have to stop right away, right? Like you eventually, like, just know like the pain's there. It doesn't mean your body's quitting. If you stop because it hurts, that means you're quitting. Like your body will stop itself. So you should go until like your body tells you quit. And that's where you're at. Like you're so mentally tough that spitting up blood didn't bother you. Your body had to pass out and almost drown for you to be like, hey, asshole, when we spit up blood, but
it's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's somewhere you need it.
Yeah. So usually we're breathing instead of spitting blood. So just an FYI next time, but still you did it again and it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, I was like, fucking, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So so you do the Marine Corps, you do the MOS training and MOS recon training, and then now then you go to Japan, right? And
Yep.
you're made a recon team leader. Talk to us about that. What happened there?
Yeah, so after your recon schooling, you get assigned to a battalion, and I went to the 3rd Recon Battalion. Is out in Okinawa, Japan. So I went out there, and I showed up, and I went with a company, and the leadership of the company kind of felt me out, and they're like, based off of my like past combat experience, they're like, we want you to become. I wasn't expected to be a team leader at first because I'm like, oh, I'm Nick, the new guy, you know what I mean? But they're like, nah, based off of your deployments to Iraq, like we're about to go to Afghanistan, so we want you to take over as a recon team leader. So I went from being Nick, the new guy, to like, here's your recon. Yeah, you're gonna be a team leader for this platoon, and we're gonna go through. We went through like I think I went through some initial training. Like I think I told you I had to go to SEER school first. I went to SEER school first, and then I joined up my team and did a whole workup, and then we were heading to Afghanistan.
So the SEER school, that's like the Navy SEAL stuff, right?
Every branch kind of has their own thing, but SEER is I mean, can't talk too much about SEER school, but it's I mean, you can look up what it is. It teaches you how to survive in like a situation where you may be separated, from your team. Like pilots have to go through it.
Yeah, so is this like that guy? Remember that guy that like his plane crashed in like Bulgaria or whatever, and he had to like live on rainwater and bugs? Like, is that SEER school? Like, just like what is around you and how can you make it?
Wow,
exactly. It teaches you stuff like that. Like,
does it teach you about like
Hollywood
getting captured and stuff?
Yeah, so it teaches that as well. So like what to do in a captivity situation as well. So.
What? You willingly put yourself into a captivity role simulation? Jesus.
I mean,
yeah, I guess you have to
because the way that recon teams operate in small teams. So in the event that it happens, you have to be prepared for that. So yeah.
Well, you know what? None of them could attack him as much as his own lungs attacked him. He's
already been
that. So.
Yeah, you're like, oh, what are you gonna do? Torture me so I spit up blood again? Been there, pussy. Yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. So you do your SEER. So you do Japan. You do your SEER training, right? And then now you're a team leader, but now you're starting the training for Afghanistan, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then you do your training for Afghanistan. Where did you do the training for Afghanistan? Was that in Japan or?
Yeah, some in Japan. We did a couple locations. Like we went to Japan. I think we were in Korea for a while because Korea has some training facilities there. Yeah. And then we went to like Nevada. We came back to the United States to some training because Nevada has an environment very similar, like a desert in the mountains, very similar like what's in Afghanistan. So some training there. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, exactly.
So, Nick, is that a big thing with the U.S. military? Is that one of the things like makes us like our military great? Is that we do have like all this different terrain we can train on? I guess a lot of countries like they are either like, oh, we're a mountainous country, we're a plainer country. In the U.S., we kind of have the Great Plains, we had the Rockies, we kind of got like everything we can train in.
Yeah, like if you ever go to the 20 Bombs, California, there's no fucking difference in the environment in 20 Bombs, California than there is in Iraq. Like they look exactly the same. Yeah, like the Mojave Desert is where 20 Bombs, California is. It's very similar to Iraq. It's crazy. So like that's where everybody used to go. Like Marine Corps wide, a lot of units would go to Iraq or go to 20 Bombs to train before they go to Iraq.
I've heard about this. Yeah, I've heard about this city. Yeah, it's like its own little thing, like the Emerald Isle out in California.
Yeah,
like you're away from the beach. It's just like a desert in the middle of like everyone else is in the middle of paradise, and you're just sitting here in the steppes. You're like, what the fuck? If I went 5 miles this way or 20 miles this way.
Yeah.
My one time we got maybe I think it was is the Mojave's in Cal. What is the Sahara? No, Sahara is in like Africa.
Yeah, Africa. Mojave's in California.
I think it might have been the Mojave Desert where my family got a flat tire one time. It was my mom, my grandmom, and me, my brother, and my 2 brothers and my sister. My dad wasn't there. So my mom had, as a parent, she was 4 kids and like an elderly grandmom in a Volvo station wagon in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and she gets a flat tire. So she was not happy with this situation. Yeah. And then I threw up as soon as we were pulled over, and I was like, we're going to die. I throw up. And then my mom grabbed like a towel out of the back and was like waving somebody down, and someone like pulled over and helped us. But yeah, eventually we had to call like a tow truck or something and get out of there. But yeah, that's that was my experience with Mojave Desert. A little different from yours, but you know, something still, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going. So now your third or fourth tour, right? You're with the 3rd Recon Battalion, right?
Yep.
And then you went to Afghanistan. So this was kind of like, you know, like you've done Iraq and everything like that. But what is like, were things a little different? Like, what were the raids? Like, you're doing raids in Afghanistan. Like, what was going on there?
Yeah, like recon works a little differently. You know what I mean? We had like teams dedicated to doing surveillance on things, and then we had teams and platoons dedicated to like, we get given a location or a target and go do a raid on the compound, or we also go to different areas that not many U.S. forces have been to before and kind of get like a feel for how that area was and what the enemy presence was in those areas and stuff like that. So Recon's a smaller unit, so we operated like small teams and platoon level. So like, standard infantry goes out with a lot of people, a lot of ass. We would be kind of like out independently operating, and really when I was in Afghanistan, my particular like company was a jack of all trades, pretty much whatever they want us to do. We went and did it. Like I said, we did everything from like raids to surveillance to like shaping the battlefield and figuring out where like the enemy was and stuff. So it was like a different feel for what I was doing in infantry. Infantry, I was just like, here's your AO, go patrol, and recon's like, we need you to do these specific things, for us. And it was, a little more, I guess it was like a little higher level than what I was doing before. We're a little more independent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we had, they, I guess like we were able to do things I wasn't able to do, like, in the infantry, you know what I mean? Like a more independent, like flexible unit to do stuff. And it was awesome. It was like, for me, it was great. Like, they let you be like, make more decisions and like be more free thinkers and, independently operate. Like they would tell you what the mission was, but you kind of more or less like were able to figure out how to do it, like within your own like platoon leadership and stuff.
They weren't going to be like, here, you have to do this X and the other. You were like, here's the mission, however you want to, however you can get it done. Yeah.
They kind of like told you like, look, this is what we need you to do. Do it however you need to do it. Just get it done. And this is your battlefield. This is what you have to take with you. Good luck. Were you more in like a mountainous, like rural area, or were you in the cities?
Well, we were, like I said, we were jack all trades, as they call it. So we went everywhere out there. I was in the mountainous area one time. I was in the cities. I was along like the borders and stuff like that. So whatever they needed to do. So pretty much we were all over. We're in an area called Helmand, so we were all over the area pretty much.
And the border, was it like the Pakistani border? Was that the border that was the big concern?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow. So you were like, oh man, so you were like right in this shit then. Jesus Christ.
We were all over. I mean, like we operated like all over the place. Like wherever they needed us to do something, we went and did wherever.
What kind of was the deployment like? So like you would be deployed, you'd be sent over, you would stay at like a base, right? And then you're at your base. They're like, all right, Marine Recon, third battalion, right?
Third Recon Battalion.
Third Recon Battalion, we need you to go to this place by the border, and this is your mission. Do it, and then we'll see you when you get back. Is that kind of?
Yep. Yeah. So we went as a company, so it's 3rd Recon Bravo Company, and like we had a couple platoons, and then like based off of like who was available, like they pretty much divvy out like what the missions or work with each platoon was, and like I said, they gave us an assignment. We had a main like like a base we operated out of. And they gave us like our platoon commander officer received like a mission, then we go execute that mission.
Yeah. So okay, so you're in Afghanistan, you're with 3rd Recon. So this is something I did want to ask. In Generation Kill, right? There's like in the beginning, they're on like a base, right? When you guys are on a base, like you guys are kind of like the big swinging dicks on a base if you're Marine Recon, right? Like you're on a military base, like if you're like a special, like your guys are considered special forces kind of. So like if you're a special forces unit, like you're fucking pretty cool. Like people see you like, yo, that's fucking Recon right there, right? You know what I mean? So what is the deal? Like they were wearing like black beanie caps or something in the first episode. Like is there any significance to that, or is that just for the show?
Yeah, I mean, recon wears like different like PT gear, and we have different gear compared to like the basic infantry guy. You know what I mean? But I mean, we look different because we have a different mission. Like, you know what I mean? Like our body armor is different, our helmets are
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a big thing is recon wears like all black, like PT gear. The rest of the Marine Corps wears
Yeah.
like if you see the Marine Corps, they wear like the green on, we call it green on green,
Yeah.
and the recon wears the pure black PT gear. I think that's what
Dude.
I haven't seen Generation Kill in a long time, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But yeah, just look a little different.
Yeah, so my dad, like I said, 82nd Airborne 1st Rangers, and he had it was all black, his gear too, right? Like his fatigues, I think they're called, right? Were all black. And I remember he gave them to me, and I used to wear them when we did paintball. And I remember playing and like, well, like I know it's stupid, but like I remember someone saying like, dude, you are like invisible when you're out there. And I'm like, well, it's just black. He's like, it doesn't matter. Like if you're in like the shade of a tree, right? Like I don't know. I guess maybe it's how they design them or something like that. But would you say, as far as like the camouflage goes, like depending on the area you're in, obviously if you're in sand, it's going to be, different or whatever. But would you say like the black fatigues were better than the normal camo, or did it not make a difference to you?
I mean, we don't have all black. Was he talking about? I don't know what he used back in the day. Probably some crazy shit. But for like Iraq and Afghanistan, we used desert. I'm sure you see Marines in like desert pattern. And then like for a jungle or like forest environment, we'll change our uniform based off of where we're going.
Yeah.
But I think the uniforms we have now are better than the old, like they call them tricolors, or just like kind of blobs.
Yeah.
They're like the digital pattern, which work pretty well.
Nice. Okay. So you're over there, you're doing your thing, you're going out on different deployments and stuff. And this is with 3rd Recon, right? So you would stay with 3rd Recon for your 5th deployment and your 6th deployment. Were the 4th, 5th, and 6th deployments always in Afghanistan?
No, so let me see. I did 3, 4.
I know,
I'm trying to count them up right now because there's so many of them. So I think like, I did.
Are we allowed to talk about them? Because I don't want to get you in any shit, Like we don't have to go in depth or whatever, and we can just say you were with them for these deployments. We don't have to say like
yeah. So I was Afghanistan 3rd Recon. So I did 2 deployments out of 3rd Recon. So I got back from one, then went on another one. About I would say I was back from Afghanistan for maybe like a month and a half, 2 months, and then I deployed like right away again.
Jesus Christ.
I went out just with like a 12-man team on that one.
Dude. So you were doing something. If it's just you and 12-man team, you're fucking doing something. I don't know. So dude, so is it fair to say that like since you were a Marine, since you went over on your first tour, like between then, like you spent more time deployed than at home, right?
Yeah, I would say probably I don't know. Yeah, the first like
excluding
5-6
like
years.
the last few years, right?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time overseas. Thus the reason why I'm like just recently have a fucking child and a wife. I mean that type of life is not good for the family. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So if Nick was going to run for office and not be a carpetbagger, he'd have to be a senator of Iraq or Afghanistan, because that's where he spent most of the time.
Jesus Christ, man, that's incredible. So okay. So let's keep it going. So you're with 3rd Recon, and like, look, if we say anything or get on a topic that you can't talk about, just tell us, and we'll skip it, man. I don't want you to
just swat us down.
Yeah, just we're not trying to have you say anything that you shouldn't say. You've already said so much, and we're so thankful.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this. So your 5th and 6th deployments with 3rd Recon, then you finished a training school and went to the West Coast. So you're with 3rd Recon, but there was another training school. What was that training school for before you went to the West Coast or at the West Coast?
Yeah, so I did Afghan deployment, came back, did another deployment. It was, like I said, it was a
small
task force.
Team.
We went, small team task force. We went and did something like that, and then came back from that.
Yeah, assassinated a political figure, something like that.
No, it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything crazy. But then I came back from that, and like typically the way it kind of works now and before was like when you go to the basic reconnaissance course, you graduate that, then you go to like a series of schools. You know what I mean? Like that kind of, they're called insert schools or just specialized training. So, but like at the time that I went recon, they're like, you only need SEER school because you ain't doing anything else like that. You're just going, we need to get you to like out. When you get to a team and like probably deploy. So eventually, like I came back from that other deployment, and then I had some like time before I had to leave Japan because I was supposed to be in Japan for like 3 years. Like you were supposed to be there for like 3 years. You had a 3-year like duration with that unit. So I went to get back from the deployment, and they sent me to Army Airborne School. So Army Airborne School is where you're jumping out of C-130s, and it's a static line shoot.
What camp were you? What fort were you at?
What is that?
Is the one in Georgia?
Yeah, it's in Georgia, Benning, Georgia.
Benning, yeah.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so Benning. That's where the school's been there forever. I mean, it's a whole history.
That's where my dad went. Yeah.
Yep.
That's where Rambo
went to. Yeah. Rambo went. Yep. Yeah. I think it's called Fry's drop zone is a famous drop zone in that place.
Nice.
But yeah, so I went to that, and then directly after that, I was lucky. I went to military free fall. The static line is like you're only jumping from like 1,500 feet, which is pretty low. So, and then you go to military free fall. I went to military free fall after that, and you're going from higher altitude. So you're jumping somewhere around like 10 to 13,000 with that. So and
hold on, whoa! You're jumping out of a plane at 13,000 feet? Isn't it like?
Yeah.
Isn't that like isn't that like really low, right?
No. So static line, we do static line. That's 1,500 feet. So you'll see like see the aircraft at 1,500 feet. That's pretty low, but when you go,
it's like the movie Congo, right? When they're jumping out with the gorilla in there,
it's called static line. So it pulls the parachute for you. If you ever seen you ever seen Band of Brothers when they jump out and the parachute gets pulled for you, then
the line's there, you just jump out and it's no worries.
You hold your balls and hope for the best. That's pretty much it.
Or that's also in Rambo 2 where Rambo gets stuck against the plane because the line doesn't rig and he just like getting dragged.
We're seeing a lot of similarities between the military and Rambo. Really starting to think that the military gets a lot of its strategy from Rambo.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
So okay, so you're going through what was it? Strack line training.
Yes. So airborne teach you static line jumping. So really just jump out of the aircraft. It fucking pulls it for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's like a 3-week course. And you do like a couple jumps out of that one. Then after that one, my unit gave me a school seat to free fall, like military free fall. So that's the one where you're really high, like I said, like 13,000 feet. And then you jump out and you're in free fall for a certain period of time, depending on how high you are. And then you pull your own parachute. And then you control your canopy. It's kind of like what you see like regular skydivers doing, but you're doing that in military aspect. So, and that's a 3-week long school. It's awesome. I mean, just do a ton of jumps and learn how to like fly and fly your canopy and stuff.
Man.
So really, really fun.
Do they teach you to like how, like, is there a thing where you would ever have to shoot down on like an enemy from the air? Like if you're being deployed into a combat zone, right? Is that a thing or no? Because I guess they don't want you to deploy with a loaded weapon like in your hand, right? That's like super dangerous.
No, you have it rigged to your side. I mean, the purpose of military free fall is you land undetected. So you land undetected. So you're so high up, you release. No one should be able to technically see you.
That's a radar.
Okay, so I had it backwards. So you're so high up, like you're off radar. That like they're like, look, we're dropping you, and unless they're like combing the skies, they're not seeing it. And is it usually like where you train, like you would train? Would it be at night more times than often?
Yeah, you build yourself up. They build you up in the school, and then once you get back to your unit, you do a lot of sustainment training with that. But yeah, you'd build to like you do all daylight stuff, then you go into nighttime stuff, and then like when you get back to your home unit, you start even doing higher altitudes, and we'll rig up like oxygen. So like once we're up to a certain altitude, we have to breathe like oxygen to make sure we don't pass out, like because of how high we're up and stuff like that. So, I think
we have to make sure we don't get hit by lightning when we're jumping out of the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, look, guys, I got this whole thing where I spit blood and it doesn't really matter. So if you see me doing that when I jump out, don't worry. It's just a thing.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think the highest ever was up. I think we did. It was a training mission in Hawaii. But we did a 25,000 feet jump into, so like when I exited, you can see like the fucking island. So it's pretty high up.
Wow.
Where did you land on the island or in the water?
We landed on the island, and you were in the free fall. You were in free fall for a pretty long time. I think you're falling for about like maybe 2 minutes, something like that, before you deploy your parachute.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was a fun jump. It was cool. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
dude.
but,
But
That's
like,
awesome.
dude, you're getting paid. Like Pete, you went skydiving. How much did you have to pay to go
Once.
skydiving?
Yeah, I spent $300. That I spent, Nick. I took a chick skydiving. I had to spend $300 and lose 25 pounds in 2 days to take her
no
skydiving
shit.
because of the weight
That's
limit.
awesome.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and he did it, but he had to pay for that. You're getting paid to learn how to skydive and do all these cool
Pretty
things,
much,
man.
yeah. It's
Like,
it's
dude,
awesome,
this-
awesome school, awesome thing to you know. Like
Yeah.
I feel privileged I can do that in the military. I end up going that
It's
I
better
mean,
than working in Excel all day.
Dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Very much agreed. And also, you're saying it is a privilege what you get to do, but don't
Mhm.
think for a second you didn't fucking earn it, man. You know what I mean? Like you've been through the shit. There's a reason, like that you're with these units. You know, like there's a reason they said, hey, you're coming in right away and you're a leader, right? Like you fucking earn these things, you know. Like I wanted to ask this so like in Generation Kill, one of the main characters, you know him, it's Colbert, but everyone calls him Iceman, right?
Nice, man.
Do you like I guess that's just like is that like a joke or I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a joke. So I mean, I don't know him super well, but it's funny because I think he was actually working down in Benning when I went through Airborne. I met him at that point and a couple other times in passing. Like I was never like in the same platoon or anything with him or anything, but I know him. I've met him a couple times now. I mean, I think shit. I mean, I've seen him like years ago. I imagine he's out by now. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he got like years back.
But is there like nicknames like that? Do you have a nickname like Kid Salami Galante or something?
Kid Salami. Yeah, I mean, guys have like nicknames like here or there or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anything like really cool off the top of my head.
Well,
I mean,
but the thing is, like, we'll get into what you're doing now, but you're a veteran, right? Like there's people like that, like, you know, like there's like lore in the military. Like you're like, if you've been around so much, you've done so many things, like there's men that have served with you and things like that. But there's young guys coming up that see you and see the things you've done. And they're like, this is a hard son of a bitch. And like, they'll say like, dude, he did this. I saw him do this. And I heard he did this, you know?
I was watching like Master and Commander recently, and like people like, oh, like this is Captain Jack whatever that made it through this shit and that shit. Like, is that like, oh, this is Nick Galante, and he's the guy that someone like drove the fucking truck into the building and he made it out and like all that kind of shit. Like,
dude, like like those.
Is there any like that lore with officers or you know, just like older enlistees?
Well, like that's the thing. Like the guys in that Amtrak unit, right? They're like, bro, we came onto this fucking site and this place, there was a crater 10 feet deep, and these guys survived this blast, and they were like, you know, some of them were torn up pretty good, but they were still fucking fighting. Like,
one guy had his face blown off and he came back within
one
like
guy's
3 fucking
shoulder
days,
ruined,
like all that kind of.
One guy's shoulder ruined the tattoo he had about a wolf howling at the moon that he got when he was 16. You know, these guys have been through it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit spreads around. You know, like the trap. Like there's some kind of like military gossip in a way where it's like swapping legendary stories, right? Like, doesn't that happen?
I mean, I'm sure. Like, I try not to go around and like, you know, big dick people, if you want to call it. Like, I try to let.
You're not like going in there like, oh, you have a story, I have a better story, kind of.
Like, I mean, I try to like make my current like work like speak for itself versus walk in the room and be like, fuck all you, I've been to Iraq. You know, like I just like if someone asks me about it, you know what I mean, I will tell them about it. And obviously some of the things I know, like when it comes to tactics and stuff, is stuff I learned along the way. But like I don't walk in the room and announce that I'm a Iraq Afghan veteran unless somebody particularly asks. You know what I mean? Like it's not usually the slogan, I guess you say, or the unspoken slogan within the recon community is silent professionals. So you don't speak, but you let your actions like speak for yourself.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
You don't have to speak. You know what I mean? Like, you're confident enough in yourself and your accomplishments and your time served that you don't fucking have to say a goddamn thing. Because you're fucking Marine fucking Recon. God damn, that is.
I guess it's more of like a situation where it's like, oh, we're going into this new spot, and someone's like, oh, we got so and so. We got Nick Galante who's done this, that, and the other. We're not as nervous about it going into the shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll say this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll say this. So me and Nick, we sat together at lunch when we were, I think, sophomores and juniors in high school, right, Nick? So we
Yeah, I think so.
sat at the same lunch table, and I remember there's a guy that sat there with us, right? And he was like a smaller guy, but good dude, real good dude, right? I won't say his name because I want to out him, but real good dude, like real kind of like, cool guy, right? And like we had a bunch of cool guys at our table, and we were just like messing around, like having fun, like doing our thing. And I remember but we were underclassmen. So we were also like kind of nervous of like, oh, we don't want to get in a fight with the upperclassmen or like the other, like some other people, whatever. And I remember this guy, I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, do you think anything's going to happen if we sit here? Like we're blah, blah, blah. And I remember this guy leaned over me. He was like, dude, we have fucking Nick Galante sitting at our table. Do you think anything's going to fucking happen to us? And in my mind, I'm like, you're right. No one's fucking with Nick. You know what I mean? Right. And if they do, they're in fucking trouble. So that's kind of the same thing. Like that happened back when we were in high school. That still happens now. Like if you go out on a mission, right, there might be some guys that are nervous for their mission, but then they see Master Sergeant Galante. Yeah. They see Master Sergeant Galante and they're like, we're fucking fine. Master Sergeant Galante's here. Nothing, like we're good, like that's fucking
He's the guy
awesome.
in Starship Troopers. He's the guy with the metal hand. He's like, all right, we're Raptech's Roughnecks. Get in line.
Yeah.
Well, I would my goal to make them, like be well prepared and trained before they do anything anyway. So
exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's why you're a good leader, because you want to instill the self-confidence in themselves, where they're like, instead of saying,
I think the thing is like they just know that they're not going to be unprepared if they're under your command. Like basically, they're like, all right, if this guy's here, we know we'll know what to expect. We'll be as prepared as we possibly can.
And we'll know he wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't ask them to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. Yeah. That's
correct.
a sign of a great leader. Yeah. Dude, that's fucking awesome. But the fact that it's been happening since we were, 16 years old, that's fucking pretty cool. So, okay. So let's talk about this. So like we said, you did with 3rd Recon after your other deployments, you came back and you finished your training and got your jump training and everything like that. Then you went to what's called Force Recon, right?
Yep.
And so, Pete, it's like this. There's the United States Marine Corps is made up of a ton of badasses, right? Then they take the all-stars from the United States Marine Corps and they become Recon Marines, right? So they're the all-stars of the badasses, right? Then there's another group inside the Recon group that's called Force Recon, and they're the all-star badasses of the Recon Marines, which are the badasses of the Marines, which the Marines are just the badasses of people, right? So you have to understand, if you're in Force Recon, you're a bad motherfucker, right? So Nick, after he got done his airborne training and everything like that, he comes back and he's on Force Recon, right, Nick?
Yeah, so I'll leave 3rd Recon and then go to 1st Recon, then get put in the Force Company. And Matt, you talk everything up, but the company at the time, and it's been restructured. The military restructures itself like all the time, but at the time the company had like the more like, I guess it was a good company. It had a lot of seasoned like senior Marines and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was a good company, well established, good leadership and stuff like that. So it was at the time, like back in, I think it was like 2011, I think it was like the best place to be, in my opinion. It was a great organization to be a part of. And then like it ebbs and flows in our community, like anything else. Like right now, it might be still the best place to go right now. I haven't been to 1st in a long time, but I've been out in here 2nd, but it ebbs and flows. But at the time, it was probably the best place I was at one point.
Why? So I agree with you that it is, but I'm coming from a civilian's perspective. What makes something like the best company to be, or something like what kind of things? Like, is it like combat accolades? Is it like money, pension? What makes the Force Recon the best company, the best place? Like it's the best place to work, right? Like it's the best job. Like for
me, it was. I mean, like everybody has their opinion. Some some guys love logistics. You know what I mean? So they may think, oh, this is the best place in the Marine Corps. But for me, like the type of work that we were doing there, and the guys there's a lot of like seasoned guys who had been to like different deployments. I think my team when I first went there, like I had multiple deployments. Like everybody like in my team was senior. I think I was a gunny at the time. I think I got promoted somewhere along the line. I was a gunny. Like I had a staff sergeant, ATL. Like all my guys everybody else was sergeant. So like more senior Marines. I think everybody on my team had like combat deployments, and the unit was very well funded, and we did a lot of great training. Like a lot of great training, we were really well taken care of. You know, we did a lot of shooting and jump packages, and like we're really well prepared and like trained our asses off. So really well organized, and you know, like good unit. It was a great place to be. Like if we needed something or we needed to train to something, we went and did it. Very well organized, good leadership too. I had pretty good leadership at the time as well, which makes a big difference. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure, dude. Liking and respecting the people you work with can't be understated. I couldn't agree more. And that's any job in any profession. But when you're saying funding, right? Like you have to do all these trainings and stay on top of these things. So people don't like, I think the layperson and you know, civilians would think that when you're saying training, you're like, okay, well, it's military. You just show up and do it, right? You just schedule it, show up and do it. But all that stuff has to be paid for and funded. And the materials used in the trainings and those excursions all have to be paid for, right? So if you're in force recon, right? Like I guess the military, they get one big pot, right? And everyone gets a little bit. But if you're in force recon, they need these guys to be the best trained, best prepared Marine Recon Marines that there can be. So they're getting more money thrown at them for training, for equipment, for all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of how the funding would work?
Yeah, at the time we had a pretty big budget, and guys like Brendan Hill were like guys who like got the equipment for us, and you know like worked the logistics of like paying for certain venues and stuff like that. Like when I was with that particular platoon and company, we'd do like a lot of offsite training, which is we go to different places and you know pay for whatever to use facilities like shooting packages and things like that. So that all costs money. Like for the most part, a lot of the stuff you do on a military base is like doesn't cost that much, but when we start doing like external training at different places and stuff, that's when you know like if you go do we went up to like Guernsey, Wyoming, for example, one time and did like call a jump package out there, which we did like a bunch of different jumps and stuff like that, you know, like high altitude and nighttime and just working on our jumping tactics. And like that costs money. Like guys like Hill would have to like figure out how to get that paid for and do the budget and everything else. Yeah.
So he had a great saying when he was on bullets don't fly without supply.
Yep. Right? That is true. Sometimes there's a rivalry between the grunts and the pogues, but we can't survive without those guys, to be honest, as much as we talk shit to each other.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things, right, that separates the U.S. like military from all is like our supply chain has always been like top notch. Like we're always able to get the food and like the weapons there. Like I mean, that was like World War II, right? That was Lend-Lease, was just getting supplies to Europe before we even entered the war. Like that, like we've always been great at logistics and that kind of stuff.
Dude, you got.
I think the old saying is like professionals no logistics and amateurs no tactics. So yeah, exactly. So,
dude, that's a great saying. Professionals know logistics and amateurs know tactics. That's fucking good. Wow, that's awesome.
That one's for Hill right there. So,
shout out. He's not wrong though. But like, dude, I think in the kind of
it's all coming together, right? It's like all the force, like it's the Merchant Marines and the Marines and the Navy and the Air Force, like all kind of coming together and just making their little pieces, and that's what wins everything.
Yeah, and you need each other. Like you all need each other. That's the thing, and it's kind of like in a way, from what I see, at least, and from talking to you guys, when you talk about this pogue and grunt kind of rivalry, it's between you guys, right? But say if you're out at
a little
bar,
brother, big brother thing, like
correct.
Like
you guys can talk shit to you guys can talk shit to each other. But if some stunad from the Navy comes over and tries to shit on a pogue, you're right there in his face telling him to go eat some shit, right? Like that's not happening. No one messes with, like, you guys might mess with each other, but no one messes with you guys, right? Like kind of like a brother atmosphere.
I mean, we still build relationship with our support guys. Like I remember
you have to.
specifically when I was in Iraq, there was a cook, and we had a nickname for him. It was like called Solo or whatever like that. And the cook was fucking solid because they come out to the field and bring us, they wouldn't have food for us, but they bring us like MREs and water and resupply us. And that dude was awesome because he'd come out and we were like cool with him, and he fucking throw us like a log of dip because a lot of guys dip. He's like, here's some MREs and a log of dip. And he didn't have to fucking do that. You know what I mean? But he was just like a cool fucking dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
just none of this pussy skull shit. I got you the real deal.
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen.
But
that fine cut.
But you learn to like work with those guys. Yeah.
Do you still dip, Nick? Did you ever dip or do anything like that?
I would dip in like when I'm overseas, when it helps when you're tired. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever dip, Matt, but throw a dip and it wakes your ass up. You say you dip every day?
No. I don't dip anymore. I used
okay. You used to do it every day, yeah.
Well, when we were in wrestling, dip was we dipped and we did chew too. And like we used to do that stuff like religiously, and I used to dip for a long time. And I smoked cigarettes too. I did everything. But dip, and I used to do it. But now it's just I know exactly what you're saying, where it's like it does put a little pep in your step, baby.
Buzz, a little buzz, and wakes you. You know, going 48 hours without sleep, you throw a little dip and it wakes you up. Yeah.
And there's nothing cooler than having a fucking lipper in and doing your thing. You know what I mean? Like that's fucking badass. I remember I was at a funeral one time.
Yeah, let's tell people not to fuck with you.
I remember we were at a funeral one time and some kid fucking just put in a fucking lipper right there. I was like, Jesus Christ, bro.
Fucking scumbag,
yeah. He's got like his tie on and everything like that. He's like wiping the fine cut off of his shit. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. All right, there's time and place for everything. Maybe not do the fucking gimmick here. So okay, so let's keep it moving. So all right, so now you're with Force Recon. This is the all-star Marine Recon team, and I know I'm building it up. That's not your words. For everyone listening, Nick is very much the most humble guy. You can ask any nurse out there. He's very humble. I'm kidding. He's a happily married man, but he's very humble. He didn't say any of this. From the research I found and everything I've done, this is what I've discovered, and I believe to be true, that the Force Recon is the all-star badass Marine Recon unit. The Marine Recons themselves are the badasses of the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps itself is just littered, and everybody's a badass in my opinion. So to be like the alpha in that situation to me is fucking, dude, I mean, killer stuff. So the next 4 years, you would be with, and you would become a leader in Force Recon, right? You'd be a team leader in Force Recon, and you would spend the next 8 years in the First Recon Force Company. Is that right?
Yep. I spent about 8 years, First Recon Force Company, about 8 years of my career doing a couple of deployments.
Yeah.
Like I said, deployments, multiple different schools, I just, working out of First Recon. Yeah, First Recon Force Company. Yeah.
Dude, and like just doing your thing, and we can't talk. We can't talk about. We know like you did some stuff, and we're not going to bring it up. We'll just say he went all over the world, and you traveled a bunch of places, and you did.
I mean, this thing I talk about, where you need like 3 more podcasts. I mean, you're hitting the tip of the iceberg of this stuff, but
yeah. No, I'm with you. We're really and hey, dude, I'll book you right now if you want to do 3 more podcasts. I'm down, because this has been nothing but killer stuff. Yeah, man, this has been just awesome. But we are coming towards the top of time, and I do want to finish up and really talk about kind of what you're doing now. You know what I mean? So let's talk. So right now, right, you're not with Force Recon now. You moved and you're with Second Recon, right? But you're kind of running the different Marine Recon schools, right? So what kind of thing, like, you're not different schools, you're kind of like training Marine Con guys, like situational training. So kind of, can you give us a gist of like kind of what you're doing now?
Yeah. So, I mean, Recon Marines in general go through a ton of different schools and training, you know what I mean?
That's
like I mentioned before. Yeah. I mean, we all like in the team, they specialize in different things, but right now, I was put into a training billet or a training job right now. So I did move to the East Coast, which is where Second Recon's at and Second Force is at. So what we do is we'll take a platoon or a company of Marines who are Recon Marines who are going to deploy, and we run them through a series of like courses and training to get them prepared for deployment. Like we do like close quarter tactics and explosive breaching, that type of stuff. Then more advanced like surveillance techniques and like a couple different sniper courses. And then I talked to you before, we teach a course where we're hooking and climbing on boats and teaching them how to like the whole Somali pirate type thing. That's what everybody kind of relate to, like how to clear boats. And then we run through the captain now. Yeah, exactly. Run through a bunch of exercises, and pretty much like these Marines have come to us. They've been through like all their base reconnaissance course, like a couple of different courses. Like they usually all come to us like airborne, free fall, Marine Corps dive school, and a couple of their accessory schools. So they've been up together as a platoon for probably like probably a year and a half,
Yeah.
and then we get them the rest of the way, make sure they're trained and well prepared for deployment. And all the guys I work with, like I think we're all like staff sergeants, gunnies, and I'm the only master sergeant, so they're all like senior seasoned guys who like been around the community for a while, and we make sure these boys are like ready and trained properly for deployment. So that's what I've been doing for the last like March will be 3 years in this position. Then after March I'm moving on to another place.
How do you like
Yeah.
this? How do you like doing the training and thing? I know we talked, and like you still, so on a previous episode we had with a friend of the show and a former guest of the show, Mr. Carl Bowers, right? And he was on the show, and Jay, his son, we all grew up together and stuff. But he had said after he got his accident, he was kind of benched behind a he's behind a desk, and he would say how he would get the itch and he would still want to go out and like be on a job and like out in the sun. And I know it's not the same thing, but right now, and I'm not saying you're behind a desk, but right now you're in a training position and you're teaching guys new things, but do you still kind of get the itch to go back out and things like that?
Yeah, I do. I think where I'm at is probably the best place you can go for like a side duty, because like as a recon Marine, you have to like, they have instructor billets at all the other schools we go to. Like, so there's guys who work down at Fort Benning in Airborne. There's guys who work at our dive school. Like I said, we have Marine Combatant Dive School, and there's guys who work at our basic reconnaissance course. And then there's guys who work where I work. So like I'm working with dudes who've been in a team for a while, and like I'm teaching them all the stuff. So it's pretty much like, it's the closest I can be to being a company that's deploying and not deploying with them. So I'm with these guys all the way. So like in that aspect, I'm being the most relevant I can just without deploying. And I mean, like in some aspects is fun. You know what I mean? I still get to do all the shooting and teaching and instructing. I'm just, at this point, I'm not deploying. I'm teaching a platoon to deploy.
Yeah.
And then after I leave this place, I can go back to a company and, be on the receiving end of that and deploy as well. So
you can't just leave at any time. Like you signed a contract to be in this training position for like a certain number of years. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, they assign you like, so, I mean, I was one of those dudes who went like, usually guys sometimes get hit like once or twice. Because I was lucky. Like, this is my first time ever doing anything but being in like the being in a platoon or something like that. But like they'll do like usually like 3 years. So a guy will go spend 3 years at the basic reconnaissance course training new recon Marines. I'm 3 years here training the platoons. So it's usually like a 3-year duty that guys do, and then they'll rotate back to like a battalion or a company.
Jesus. So, but why were you put here because of like a specific reason, or is it just like military policy where it's like, hey, like you did, like you've been out, you've done like enough, like we still want you here.
These metrics, and we need you to
but like
train guys.
Like fucking take a break from the shit and like just stay at home, find a girl, knock her up, do that whole gimmick. Right, like
we need more Galantes for the future. So do your patriotic duty.
we need more super soldiers that'll storm the beaches of Normandy and all that kind of stuff. So get to making some more super soldiers, and then train some guys too. Like, did they do this? Like, is this something the military does intentionally, just so like, hey, you've done 10 fucking tours, like give this guy a break, kind of thing? Like, do they register that, or are they just like did you like, how does it work?
Yeah, so we have, it's an E9 recon Marine. So like he's the highest ranking, like enlisted in charge. They call him the monitor, the recon monitor. So like he'll assign guys to like different billets and stuff like that. And I mean, I was out at first recon for so long, and I just kept like, I came back from deployment and like jumped on another one, and like the guys out there are like, he doesn't need to go away, he's going on another deployment. So that was like the reason why I just kept staying. And finally, like I got back after like about 8 years doing it. The monitor called me, he's like, listen, motherfucker, like I need you to go do something else for now. So luckily, like the organization with right now, they usually try to pick guys who have a lot of experience to like, they're not going to send like a guy who's like a fucking shitbag. Or at least they try not to send a guy who's a shitbag to the organization's training guys to go on deployment. And they usually try to send, like well-versed and like mature professional guys to go train these dudes to deploy. So, I mean, I got a call and they're like, you've been in California and first recon, first force too long. We need to, get you some more variety in your life. And, they're like, we like you to come over to this organization and start training for a couple of years. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean?
So
I couldn't argue. I couldn't argue. Yeah, I couldn't argue.
Yeah.
He's like, you've been doing this shit too long. You need to switch over.
So did you kind of know, like, so say you got back from a deployment, like in your mind, you're like, I'm picking the first fucking thing out of here so I don't get stuck in a training position because I know they're going to ping me. It's been 9 fucking deployments. It's coming up, right? Like, was that in the back of your mind when you're coming back?
I mean, there's a couple times where,
You're
like,
fucking
I think,
kidding me?
Yeah, there's been a couple times where there was a time where I got back from a deployment and like, some people had talked to me like, yeah, we need to like you to go do something. Then, I go talk to each battalion has like a E9 in charge of my master guns.
Yeah.
So like, I remember one particular time I went and talked to that master guns. He's like, you want to go to like a training billet or you want to go on another deployment? And I'm like, just give me the fucking deployment. And so he's like, all right, cool. So, I went to another deployment.
So
some of them are just like fine with it, like, yeah, hey, if this is what you want, just go for it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not crazy to say, Nick, but you love your job, right? Like you love.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of jobs. There's some times where you fucking hate your job. Sometimes you don't like the people you work for, and like you have your shitty days. But I mean, like, I get to shoot. I get to jump. I get to dive. Like I'm around a bunch of like guys who are very similar to me. Like. Yeah. There's a lot of very intelligent, like, like athletic guys I work with who come from different backgrounds. So, a lot of
no one ever asked you to change the format on your Word docs.
Yeah. No one ever said you needed to complete this email listing before you leave today. Yeah. And send, Dude, man,
his
honestly,
EPS reports have not they're not up to snuff, and we're not sure if we can keep going with this guy.
Yeah, look, your corporate monitoring it's really not great. No, but you don't get that but like, dude, we are I'm not saying we're glorifying, but we're painting a picture of kind of what you've been doing, but it hasn't been without heartache, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
And like I don't want to go in on that, that's your stuff, and we're respecting you and like your things and the guys you served with and everything like that, but we are we're talking about like the cool things of like shooting guns and jumping out of planes and swimming and spitting up blood and all that stuff, but there's a lot of heartache and a lot of hardships that you've had to endure to serve the country, and like that's it shouldn't be understated where it's not every day is, it's not always an easy day to be a Marine Recon Master Sergeant. You know what I mean? So you've had some tough days, but I want to talk about this because we had brought this up. So, you do get mail and you do get things like that. You have a wife and you have a kid now, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, like, I don't know. And I think you have I mean, do you want to say the gender of your child? Do you care saying it on air?
Oh yeah, it's a boy. Yeah, I'm proud of it, boy.
Yeah. So
there we go. Papa Nick.
Yeah. So he has a future Marine Recon or whatever he wants to be. I'm sure you could care less what he does as long as he's healthy and happy. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but like, we had talked before and in the pre-show about, at a young age, you were leading men, and there'd be times where they would get a letter from home or some correspondence from home, and they're not in the right mindset. And you're like, look, you're benched. I'm not taking you out on this patrol. You're not going on this mission. You're not safe. You're not safe. And like these guys they're like warring against you because they're like, fuck you, man. I want to be out on this fucking, you want me there. Like, obviously they're not using that language because you don't speak your superiors that way. But, like there's times where you have the bench guys. Are you scared at all if you go back out, right? If you go active again, of the possibility of you being in a situation where you'd have to be benched? Does that cross your mind at all? Or
you referring to me?
Yeah.
Like me being benched? I mean, I would say I don't think we'll have that problem just because I'm like conditioned for it. I think I do, like all my deployments, I'm pretty good at just like flipping the switch off. I mean, obviously, nice. But yes, I've had to do that to other Marines. We had that talk before. Yeah. Like guys have bad news from home, or I mean, it's shitty. Like what's happened to guys like on my deployment. It's just natural life though. You know what I mean? Like someone's wife leaves them or a relative dies or whatever they and you just like, you get to know these guys so well. You're like, okay, bro, like you don't have the right mindset right now. So you need to sit out for a couple of days. And enlisted men talk a little differently. We will say like "fuck you, dude," like "fuck you," I'm not a pussy. I'm gonna go out and like,
yeah,
you're a pussy. You're gonna sit back. But no, I mean, like you tell them seriously, like, hey man, like it's for your benefit and the team, your squad's benefit. Take a couple days off, get your head right, and you'll get back out when you're ready. So I've had to do that before.
In those situations when you have to talk a guy like out of a mission, like tell him you're not going, do you kind of use the like, look, you're not only putting yourself in danger, because at some point they're like, I don't give a fuck about myself, but do you have to say like, not only are you putting yourself in danger, but you're putting me and the rest of the team in danger, and do you want us to get hurt? Like that's kind of how you have to use it, because they don't care about themselves at that point because they're so like hurt and whatever. It's more of like you have to say like you're in danger, your brothers, if you do that, like that's like that's kind of what you'd have to use.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I was in the infantry in Iraq, basic infantry, I just like have a guy stay back on base. I make him do like we had guard duty, make him do guard duty, which is like not as tasking or something. I wouldn't have him like beating feet on patrol, and like when I was in recon, same deal. If I felt like a guy head wasn't right, like a little more high risk what we were doing with recon, even in training too. Like if a guy's not head right and we got to go do like fucking dive training or like free fall training or something. If a guy's head's not right, you gotta tell him either clear his fucking head or go sit out for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, the dude may be a fucking rock star, but if his head's not right, you got to take a break.
Yeah.
Even tell him chill out.
Yeah.
Some guys let the family life, like it affects a lot of guys differently. Some guys are like, fuck it, fuck my family. And then other guys like get really, affected by it, so.
But you've done it for so long, you have the ability to turn the switch. That's dude. You're a stone cold killer, brother. And you fucking earned it. But okay, so right now you're currently teaching and training the new recon recruits and guys, and like you're going over, like it's almost like you're doing like practice missions in a way of like, hey, this is what you should expect in this mission, train this way, right? This is what you should expect in this mission, train this way. Is that kind of right?
Yep, correct. Yeah, we typically go through like pretty much anything they would likely encounter on a deployment, and we test all their different skill sets. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what we do. Yeah. And it's usually about from when we first get these guys, like I said, they're not new recruits, but they've been in a platoon for like a couple like years. And some of the guys are even senior guys just doing another cycle. But usually from the time we get them to the time of the deploy, it's probably like a 7-month period. So we're working with these guys for about, 6-7 months, and then like testing them in all different types of skills and getting them. If the guys, some of the guys have been through it before, and this is just kind of like a refresher for them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Hey, man, that's what you need. They got to stay sharp. So, okay. So we're coming to the top of time, and I want to do this before we go. So I'd sent you some questions, and I just want to ask you a couple questions, and I'll let you get out of here. How's that sound?
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. So first question, at the age of 10, what was your favorite movie?
I think it's still my favorite movie just because of my father. I always love fucking Predator, man. Just like
there we go.
Yeah, I love Predator.
Dude, that's a movie, like that's a great flick. That is a great flick.
A great flick. Awesome one-liners. Everybody's on like as much D-balls their body can handle.
Oh yeah.
If you had a favorite character besides Arnold, who was it?
It's the Indian guy.
The Indian
guy. Indian guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Jesse Ventura in the movie because he has some funny ass one-liners.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he had like the minigun and everything, but
this stuff will make you a sexual tyrannosaurus.
Yeah, exactly. It's so great. So great. Some of the one-liners.
Was that Dip, right?
Yeah, such great one-liners. But great movie. I would say that's probably since 10, yeah.
My dad said that he would watch that movie a lot too, but he said he really liked it because like in the beginning they're like, one guy's like shaving, the other guy has his knives, one guy's like telling dumb jokes, like all these things. And he had said like he kind of liked it because in a way it reminded him of what a special forces unit is like you have each guy has like their thing, this is what this guy does, this is what this guy does, but they're specialists at this and kind of things like that. That's pretty cool. So all right, so and then is it still your favorite movie now, Predator?
I mean, I always go back. I mean, I like all the old 80s movies. Like, just like I said, it was my father making me watch movies when I was really young, like Predator, Running Man, like Commando.
Running Man, yes.
So
Running Man.
So good.
Running Man versus Sub-Zero, like all the characters that he had to take on were just so great.
I think Running Man's a close second to Predator. So,
dude, that's badass. Nice. Okay. Nice. Okay. Any shows you watched recently that you like? Any TV shows, movies, anything now that you like? digging?
I don't watch that much TV or movies or like that. But like I told you, my wife cheated on me and watched the rest of Yellowstone without me. So like I got to see like the first 5 episodes. I don't even think I'm gonna finish it now, because I only watch that stuff when she does. So
let's I don't know if just so the listeners know, when Nick says his wife cheated on him, what he means is that they started watching they started watching the TV show Yellowstone, which I watch as well, which is a really, really good show. For those of you who haven't watched it, you should check it out. Kevin fucking Costner. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
But they started watching it. Nick had to go away for a little bit to go to work, right? He's gone for some time. He comes back. His wife has cheated and watched like 10 fucking episodes while he was gone.
We've all been there.
She finished it all the way. So
she finished it. So I'm like, I'm not even gonna watch it. Yeah, she's like, I can watch it again. I'm like, you ruined it. You already know that all the crap about it.
Yeah. I'm with you. So Yellowstone, nice. Okay, so let's keep it moving. So if you could give yourself a nickname, what would it be?
So I did have a platoon call sign. That was probably my favorite call sign. It was Cutthroat 11 was my call sign for a long time.
That is fucking badass. Cutthroat 11. That is fucking bad. So you did have something in that Iceman gimmick when we were talking about that earlier. You son of a bitch.
Some people have like nicknames. That was my platoon calls or my team call sign. So
dude, Cutthroat, that's a pretty fucking good one. That would suck if it was like Banana Hammock 12 or something.
Yeah. The little engine they couldn't 37. Like.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Hey, this is Bahama Hammock on the 1-1. What do we got here? 99 Cutthroat. Yeah, that would be too fucking funny. Okay, so let's keep it moving. So okay, Cutthroat 11. That might be the best nickname we've heard on this show. So okay. So let's keep it moving. So if you could host a TV show, what would it be? And it could be real or made up, but if you could host a TV show, what TV show would you host?
I mean, I kind of tipped my hand already. I think it would be awesome to like host The Running Man if that was a real show. Would it not be?
Bro, you ain't kidding, bro. That would be, dude. That is a great fucking idea.
That would be a great
idea.
Battle to the death, yeah.
Dude, that would be a great idea. Absolutely. Damn. All right, nice. Hey, it'd be kind of like if you did like a Running Man Bloodsport kind of gimmick,
Yeah, that would be great too, yeah.
Oh, dude, Bloodsport. Oh, that's
the epitome of capitalism. Fight for your freedom.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so let's keep it moving. That's fucking hilarious, dude. That's great. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so if you could be on a TV game show or any kind of show, what TV show would you be on?
I don't know. I can give the same answer too, but
Sure.
Well, so we've had Global Guts, we've had like Big Brother. Temple. Like, is there any of the like anywhere childhood or
yeah?
A show I've seen recently. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a show. I mean, I don't know how well I do, but a show called Alone. I think it's on. I think it's on Amazon. That would be cool. Like you just go out in the wilderness alone for like 100 days.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask this: if there was an apocalypse, you're doing okay, right? Like. You'd be okay with an apocalypse, right, Nick? Like it wouldn't affect you that much. You'd still be able to survive. Like you can survive in the wilderness on your own, right? Like you're trained that way.
Yeah, there's certain aspects. Plus, I think the apocalypse depends also how many like if you have some weapons in your house, and things like that. Yeah. So
one of my favorite shows. I was real into Naked and Afraid. In one of the episodes, the one guy brought a roll of duct tape. Is the roll of duct tape the greatest tool someone could bring on Naked and Afraid?
Oh my God.
I don't know about that. I think a knife or a hatchet would be more useful than that. Than duct tape.
He was making cups out of his duct tape. He made a lot of creative things out of his duct tape.
Dude, I'll tell you what. I remember my cousin Henry, R.I.P. Love him. But he had tried like like before online you could like put in to be on Survivor when Survivor was like big. And he had put in to be on Survivor, and like one of the questions I think was they asked like if you could bring like 3 things, what 3 things would you bring? And one of the 3 things he brought, like he said he would bring on Survivor, was toilet paper. And in my mind I'm like, That's pretty good because everyone wants to be friends with the guy that's got toilet paper in the fucking, in the middle of the fucking jungle.
Just make sure it's placed in practice in case it rains,
Yeah.
Then you're
Yeah. Then you just got some soggy paper. Yeah. All right. Nice. Okay. So you've taught us a bunch of cool words thus far on the show with like, MATV, JLTV. You've been giving us vernaculars the whole damn show. But what's like a big cool word or maybe a work term or something like that you could teach us right now that the meaning?
I don't know. I mean, the military is simple because they teach you a lot of acronyms, like make words shorter. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of anything big, man. I don't know.
What does SEER training actually stand for?
Survival, escape, resistance, and evasion. So there's the big word for you right there. So like,
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is. Survival, escape, resistance, and evasion.
Yep.
Dude,
there you go.
That's fucking all right. We'll take that because that's fucking
all right.
badass.
Cool.
Nice. Okay. So, all right, let's keep it going. So, all right. So what? And we're almost done. So, what was the worst day of work in your whole life? Any job you've ever had, worst day ever?
So it was obviously in the military, and I've had some crazy days in the military.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
that time 2 chicks didn't blow you at Sbarro.
No.
Yeah.
I would say there's multiple situations, but the most I guess sad or I don't even know how they call it, like depressive state or whatever you call it. So it's all open source information, but a couple years back, the USS McCain was hit by another vessel. I don't know if you remember seeing that in news.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
So we had my platoon was in the area, and they asked us to come try to get the individuals with it was us and some Navy divers, and we tried to get they pulled in the port, and we tried to get some of the sailors out of there. So it took us probably like a week to get some of those guys out of there, but like it's different when individuals die in a non it wasn't a combat situation. They got hit by another vessel, and we spent weeks trying to get those individuals out, and it's terrible for the families and stuff like that. But it's one thing for a guy to die in combat, but another guy who was on a vessel, not knowing what's going on, gets hit and dies. So we spent probably a week trying to get them out of there, and they all got out eventually. We got them all out eventually, but they all passed at the time. So, but that was probably the shittiest time in my military, is pulling guys out of we were diving.
You were pulling dead bodies and stuff, and
they had all passed. I think it was 11 in total. And like I said, you can look up the whole story, but it just got hit in the open ocean, and it hit the vessel in the right spot, and there's individuals within the ship, sailors. They passed, and they're trapped, and we had to if they pulled the port, and we worked alongside Navy divers and help pull those individuals out so they can get sent home to their families. So that was a shitty mission. It's different when that happens than a guy, you're in combat and a guy dies in combat. That's expected. But a guy who's working on a boat, a Navy guy, and
you're in the middle of the ocean. What are the chances?
But that was kind of a shitty time, and it was shitty. That's all I can say about that one.
Dude, sorry we had to relive that.
I mean it's part of the job. I mean, it doesn't I'm not one of those guys that dwells on it. It's part of the job, and it was over. I just said that was a shitty thing to see or have to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like a firefighter. At the end of the day, you put out fires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those guys see. I mean, the same thing. Cops, firefighters deal with stuff like that every day. It's just it was a shitty day. And those guys didn't see it coming. That's different from the guy in combat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, man, they had to call. Hey, look, there's a reason. You guys are there. You do the hard stuff. That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so let's cheer it up a little bit. What was the best day of work in your whole life and of any job you've ever had?
I would say so. I mean, I spent most of my life in the military at this point. So you remember I talked about how I went to BRC. My lungs fucking popped pretty much.
Yeah.
So they always select an honor graduate for those classes, and because my lungs got fucked up, I think I was on track to become honor graduate for that course, but my lungs fucking bled.
Is honor graduate valedictorian?
Yeah, pretty much. So I was on track to become
a fucking course. Yeah. Why wouldn't you be the best? Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So I was on track, but if you were like a medical injury or whatever, like that goes to another person. So I was on track. I thought I was going to take it for that class. Got injured, like went back to training, finished it off. You don't get honor grad if you get hurt, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then the recon community has another course. There's a recon team leaders course. Is very like, it was at the time, it was very like base recon as a course, but on team leader level. And it's pretty tough course. It's like another like 13 weeks or like that. And I went to that course and probably lost like 20 fucking pounds in that course, something like that. But we started with a handful of guys. It was probably like somewhere around 20, 25 guys, and we graduated 6 out of that. And like 6 out of 25 left standing. And then I was honor grad at that course. So like that was like, I was one of the top dudes of the course. They gave me like a fucking paddle and a plaque, and I was like,
nice.
That for me made up for getting hurt in BRC. I was like, fuck yeah, I came back and killed this thing and was honor grad for that course. So that was a pretty good day.
Dude, that's fucking awesome, man. Dude, you deserve that shit too. Man, that's glad to hear. Like, dude, it is crazy to think like we grew up in this small town, like playing football together as kids and things like that. And like to think like, dude, you're the fucking like the baddest fucking dude going, and like you're just a small town American guy, from a dirty Dago spaghetti eating family. Yeah. I can
talk
say,
about your own kind now, Matt.
Matt's like, now that I've found my butt test, I can say all these words.
I can say that because I'm a guinea as well. All right. Yeah. I'm a spaghetti bender. I'm all those things. No, but it is crazy that like you're you're
like that guy from Yellowstone. He was like thought he was Mexican his whole life, and he found out he was Native American. You're like, you're like the Irish guy, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, I'm a fucking walk.
I thought the character's name's Thomas Rainwater, but you're exactly right. My mom didn't tell me because she wanted to protect me. That's what it was. So okay, so last question, and then I'll let you out of here. So if you could keep like a comfortable income and like make as much money as you need to for you and your family, whatever, and you could pick any job that you've had and you could make the income that you need and do whatever, what's the one job you would pick that you could have for the rest of your life? Like I remember, I think one person picked with like life. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, someone like lifeguarding or something. But go ahead.
Say easily recon team leader. Being a recon team leader is probably the best job. You know what I mean? If I could do that forever, you know what I mean, and get paid well. I mean, the military doesn't pay you great, but I've paid well for the rest of my life. I'd do that.
Hey man, dude, that's fucking. So you do what you love and you don't work a day in your life, dude. That's fucking awesome. I'll tell you what, man. We're coming to the top of time, Nick. I cannot fucking thank you enough for this, dude. This was
great, man.
Dude, I'll tell you what, me and Pete, we're pretty much on board with this always, but we would love to have you back on if you'd be willing to come back on. Dude,
yeah, sure.
Dude, love to have you. This was great. Thanks so much for like supporting and listening to the show and like all the good things you said about it, but can't thank you enough. And thank you. I know this is corny, but thank you for your service and everything you've done for the country. This episode's just been eye-opening and this has been just such a great time, man. Loved catching up with you, doing the whole thing, Pete, before we get out of here, anything you want to say to the dozens and dozens of Working Perspectives podcast listeners?
Jesus, I don't know. I got nothing to follow up with.
Yep. No.
That was just a hell of a fucking episode.
Hell of a show, man. Hell of a show. Nick, anything you want to say to the listening to your adoring fans in the listening public? What do you got to say?
They're dripping wet, Nick. They're dripping.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Nah, Matt, I do appreciate. I'm humbled to be on your show. I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of the show. So thank you for having me on. You know what I mean? And I appreciate your support and like anybody who's listening. I'm sure there's people who support me over the years. I really appreciate the letters, care packages. You know what I mean? Like it's been awesome. But I guess in the words of Ricky Bobby, this is America. This is the greatest planet on earth. Remember that.
Yeah.
Fucking A, man. Fucking A. Always remember that. Okay, so this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied by Party Boy Pete McCormick, and our special guest today was Master Sergeant Nick Galante. You can find us on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can hang out with us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working Pete Pod. You can join us on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show and get approved by the PAAA, you can join us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. All right, this is the end of the show. Stick around for the ad read. Thanks again. See ya.
Do you have a message or a story inside of you that you've been waiting to tell? Have you always dreamed of writing a book but are intimidated by the complexities of the book publishing world? Perhaps you want to use a book to launch your public speaking or consulting career. If so, please reach out to Scott and Bell Publishing, located right here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Scott and Bell Publishing handle all genres and authors with all experience levels. Scott & Bell Publishing gives authors 100% creative freedom and a higher royalty split. They can be found at www.skotbell.com. That's www.s as in Sam, K as in Kite, O as in October, T as in Tom, B as in Boy, E as in Edward, L as in Larry, L as in Larry.com. That's Scott & Bell Publishing, where the authors go.
It's our objective to be effective. My voice in society's working perspective. We're exploring your workday and how you get paid. Launching new episodes every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform, with episodes available on all podcast platforms. Check out our vibe and how we get live. Then do us a solid like, share, and subscribe. Working Perspectives.